Here we
You blew it! You blew it! This man was a bona fide scrub.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Oh, poor you.
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you. I make you laugh, I'm here to fucking amuse you. What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
stupid.
Yes, sir. We are back. The Participation Trophy Podcast. This is episode number, what is it?
32.
32. I'm telling you, man, one of these nights, I'm going to get the episode number without losing count. I swear it. Zane's not impressed at all right now. I'll get my shit together, I promise. And actually, speaking of getting our shit together, we're going to be giving out actual participation trophies tonight. Did you know that? And by actual, I mean verbal participation trophies. I feel like most of the NBA playoff losers this weekend and yesterday from probably deserve them, but maybe not the Miami Heat, though. They can get the hell on up out of here for real with that trash ass shit they put out in game 2. But I digress. We root for the Wizards over here, and we really got nothing to say. Let me get the introductions going. We got the usual foursome in the house. Not sure if you really call it a foursome at this point, right? It doesn't become an orgy after 3 people.
Rotisserie style.
That's a true question for Zane. We'll circle back at the end of the show.
Put the R&D department on that one.
But Joe, we got our African American correspondent up in here, shiny bald head with a graciously long beard, out here looking like an Afro Greek god.
Yes.
And it's funny when you look at Jamal, like you would never peg him for a guy who is an extreme fetishist for far right conservative media. My man is much involved in the self-flagellation by way of deliberately and purposefully rabbit holing into the deepest and darkest holes.
Can't get enough of the crazy. Can't get enough of it.
Of the internet webs to find the craziest racist shit. And then he tucks his 2 kids in bed at night. Like, go figure.
Before we get into that, can we just clarify? So I went to a Quora. I don't know how you pronounce that. It says 3 people is a threesome, 4 people is a foursome, and orgy needs to include 5 people or more. However, it's not just a numbers game. If you have, say, 4 couples in a room, but all 8 people only have sex with their partner and no cross-couple sex takes place, that's just 8 people having sex in the same room. It's not an orgy. For it has to be an orgy, there has to be some sex happening outside of couples.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the fucking analysis you get on PTP.
There you go, man. That's the insight we were looking for right there.
That's why we can't get any motherfucking sponsors.
Hopefully you have your headphones plugged in if you're listening at work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one time for Jamal Smith.
Cheers.
Yeah. In the Brady Bunch box diagonal from Jamal, the maestro of incognito browser tabs, a contrarian to a fault. This man hates pizza. He hates ice cream. He hates Pakistani biryani. If there was
so much shit for that this week.
If there was ever a cancel culture for podcasts, we deserve the chop just over Zane's bullshit.
We're gonna do an overrated food segment coming up.
Yeah,
soon. You know what I'm
we're
going
overdue.
with,
Yeah.
Count me out, man. I don't know if I want to talk to you that night, man. But yeah, if people catch on to your bullshit, we'll get that chop. But so long as we're still here, that's Zane Zadie, ladies and gentlemen. And finally, our beloved adolescent, this guy is the reason why my wife wants to adopt a child. She's a big fan of yours, dude. My son Neil over here, every time Neil speaks, my wife does that puppy dog face at me, like, you're so precious.
Oh,
and then I do the same. I do the same face back at her, and we agree. And we love you, man. We love you, son. Listen, Neil DeLaw, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of introductions, allow me to reintroduce myself. I'm sharing some big news here. After having a considerable number of coworkers and ex-coworkers across various companies and agencies I work for deliberately choose to address me by my last name in work emails, I've decided to go by such. That's right.
Is that a Brown thing?
Sharif. I was just gonna say, the naming convention on emails, when you put like 2 foreign names back to back, like they just don't know which one is which. Especially where you and I used to work at, where it was last name, comma, first name. And so people would just, Sharif Abdullah, it's not like, my name is John Smith and they just decide to go with Smith. But, Abdullah, Sharif, they go with Sharif. you know, it's just kind of fun to me. I try to understand. We talked about the naming convention. It's understandable how it happened, you know, at where we worked, but now at my new job, or the job I'm working at now, the naming convention is normal. It's first name, last name, you know, no commas.
That's how it should be.
Abdullah, 8-letter, 3-syllable word shown first, and I still get addressed as Sharif. So
you know, if you pretend like it's a basketball coach emailing you, then it's funner. Giving you instructions.
But you know, the naming convention is not really what I would consider a work email peeve, but it kind of aligns to all the other mishaps and annoyances that make up the wonderful world of corporate electronic messaging. And Jamal, yes. We've had lengthy conversations about this. You've posted about it on Facebook. I know you've got plenty of email related grievances. This is your space, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm at a company now. Like, first of all, I used to be government, right? So
yeah,
by default, I like to document a lot of stuff, but I don't like the phone. Like, I'm a senior citizen, like Gen Xer, I guess. I'm like right on that cusp of Gen X and Gen Y. So
it's a convenience.
Yeah, well, I like documenting things. I hate the phone. I like to cover myself because people have had to pull some bullshit on you on email. And I had a situation where somebody tried to play a lie on me, saying I received an email from an outside customer and the shit never came to me. And I was like, fuck you, because I got everything I've ever done like documented. I save shit on my drives, I back up stuff and everything.
As
but
you should.
Yeah, I'm at a company now where our thing is writing, like very much. I mean, we're not big on, presentations orally. We're not really big on PowerPoints. It's a lot of narrative driven stuff. So writing is like a thing. And I've never dealt with so many fucking quirks over email in my entire career. So
it's
issues.
I mean, you go down the list, right? I mean, overuse of acronyms, people just adding people to the thread that you don't. It's like tagging somebody on Twitter when you're talking shit about them. And somebody, what do they call it? Snitch tweets, snitch emails, or subtweets, right? Zane, I mean, I know you and I worked together at one point.
Wait. People actually reply to your fucking emails? Because nobody fucking replies to any of my emails, man. Like, and I work government.
You gotta come down on them.
Like, contractor to government is like, it's like open classism. It's like a caste system.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Like, you don't fucking matter. Like, I'm not even allowed to email a government person. It's like being in the fucking mafia. Like, I gotta have like a fucking connected guy that like is CC'd on this shit, and then like I gotta reply 4 times and I gotta be nice.
Right.
If I don't.
And have you also seen when you're on a thread, right? When you're on a thread with multiple feds, right? And you're asking a fed a question and they kind of don't respond, or there's no greeting. It's just like a 1-2. And as soon as another fed follows up, it's a whole different approach, a whole different email.
Then they find decorum all of a sudden.
There's a whole decor. There's a whole greeting, and the whole vibes just change. You just kind of sit there, and it's true. I mean, it's just the life and nature of a contractor, of a government contractor. Jamal, we're considered billable. That's all we are. We're just a number in the system.
You know what it's like? It's like the motherfucker brought in like his OG and shit into the fucking conversation. Like, it's my OG.
So speaking of Fed shit, like when I was a Fed, I had a problem with, we all know, like the 63-year-old, like, woman, black lady named Myra with the thick ankles, and she's been there, she don't do shit, but people they find one thing for her to do to ride it out until retirement. So all she does is like fucking put envelopes together and shit. And you look, she sent an email out, right? And you read it, and the email might just be 2 or 3 sentences, but you go down to her signature, and it's like a Bible verse, a picture of some flowers,
This too shall pass.
A fucking Mark Twain quote, like all that shit. Like that's the shit I used to hate, man. There's like no uniformity to it, and nobody's gonna say shit to her because that's her thing.
But those quotes in the email signature, and I know the intent there is to make some people feel better about their day. It makes me feel worse. I fucking hate quotes in email signatures. Like, they just rub me off wrong. Because maybe first of all, I don't even want to hear. I don't even want to get this email from you in the first place. And then you fucking throw a quote at me too, like to make me feel better about it. Like, nah.
How do you do your out of office messages? Speaking of emails, like, is your shit straight to the point? Is it like, I'm out of the office, here's my backup, that's it? Or do you do the thank you for your email. I hate that shit.
No, I'm straight into the point. So I just got out of
Straight
this.
to the point, right?
Went for a long weekend, but I just say I am out of the office. If something's urgently needed, you can contact me here. I will be checking email periodically. Done.
I got to put everything in that motherfucker. Like for more immediate assistance, for semi-immediate assistance, for fucking 12 to 18
my
hours.
Emergency contact for the secondary and tertiary.
I gotta block out my calendar and shit. Like, yeah. You know what's the fucking word? Have you ever had one where they send it out to everybody and somebody hits reply all? Yeah, motherfuckers just start going crazy. Like what? Like they don't give a like. What is this? Stop replying all.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
reply all to tell other people not to reply all.
Exactly.
It's a snowball effect.
That's just hilarious. Yeah, it's
we're talking
hilarious.
to you. We're talking about you, Tom.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
That piece of shit.
He was one of them dudes that just replied all just to kind of like show off, like, yeah. I got your email, and I acknowledge it. I fully understood. Yeah. Great points there. Yeah,
great points. I talked to so and so who's a
no
GS,
substance,
48.
no substance. Yeah, no substance in the reply all. It's just
I talked to Bobby Shmurda, who's a GS9. He said,
we talked about CC abuse. So one of the most nerve-wracking things about emails is having to recall an email, because I always forget how to fucking recall an email every time I've sent something. Right. Actions. There you go.
But you gotta find it because the fucking ribbon is hidden sometimes. With all the icons, there's no fucking words.
It's never there.
It's like disassembling a fucking bomb. You see, like in fucking like Rush Hour, like a green wire and a yellow wire and shit.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's an email that's an external email that's not within your company domain, you can't even tell if they got it or not. Usually that's a client or or a subcontractor or a developer or somebody.
They need to make it like they should just put like a big set of titties as like the icon. So like you look up and you're like, the titties.
Oh, there it is.
There we go. Where the titties at? What is it? Oh man. What else we got here, man? What is the worst situation that any of you guys have been in involving an email?
It's not a bad situation, but people just nonstop spell it NEAL for me, and I'm just like, come on.
That literally pisses you off, doesn't it?
It pisses me off when it's just over and over again. It's even worse. This is not email related, but so they updated like all of the little letterheads outside of everybody's office because my office mate, she moved on from a different job, so they changed her title to like, open, vacant, and they misspelled my name on the office door. I was like, come on,
And your name is blatantly there. Like at the same time, your name is blatantly there, right?
Neil works at Wendy's, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know.
Wendy's. Come on, you got to at least make it fit into the stereotype. At least say Taco Bell.
What is the email? Probably it's like Neil at Wendy's.
Wendy's.
like what's the fucking domain name for Wendy's?
Oh my god, that'd be funny. Probably like Wendy's dot whatever the parent company name is. Like,
Wendy's dot Foster's.
Somebody here wrote email threads that get broken because somebody's not responding to the latest. Now that shit. Anytime you have to descramble shit like an Android fucking text, right? Like,
I hate it.
It's like fucking watching Memento over and over.
Yeah.
Figure out and backtrack and shit.
Memento, that's on my list of movies to rewatch because I've seen it. It's one of those movies where I know I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I remember it being amazing, but I never watched it again. I can't remember like the second thing about the movie. Just remember, I know it's just some mind shit. Kind of similar to Butterfly Effect, right?
Inception. That's all Christopher Nolan. Fucking confusing shit. Where what's going on, but you pretend like you know what's going on.
Yeah. All right. So we got it all out of our chest here.
My last one is this is one I complained about on Facebook when I was on Facebook, but you think you've resolved something, you've had a good exchange, you seem to close it out, you get up to take a piss or something, the motherfucker call you like, hey, you got a few minutes to talk through. Like, what the fuck do you have to talk through? We close it out. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck you have to say? You know what? I work with a lot of like sales and business development guys, and I understand sometimes they're in the field, they don't have time to type out an email, they want to just call instead of writing stuff down.
Sure,
my beef with that is that next week the motherfuckers will say like, I didn't get anything from you. I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
What do you mean you sent me something last week? Like, so what I have to go back sometimes and kind of recap our conversation and put it in an email, even if they don't respond. But that whole let me call you after we've had a 20-minute exchange, fuck you. Like,
no, that reminds me of when you're on actual call, like like a team meeting, and somebody asks you to stay on the line for a few more minutes. After
Why does that shit always feel like you went to the principal's office? They could be
every time.
But somebody's saying, "Can you hang on the line for another few minutes?"
Hang on the line for another few minutes.
Especially if it's in a supervisory role, of course.
Oh gosh, it's just the
You
worst.
just see everybody going off the WebEx.
Yeah,
just like
don't know what that's all about. Jeez, Sharif is fucked up now.
There it is. All right, man. In the spirit of talking about workplace emails, some murmur, some hints are coming back from friends and family that I know about potential returns to the workplace being on the horizon because, now that Joe Biden is your president, you're free to take off your masks. I'm not talking about any conspiracy theory, man. Maskless times do seem to be coming back. Grocery stores, other places of interest have somewhat lifted the mandate on masks. Most places just go by the honor code, right? Expose yourself at your own risk. I actually saw a sign that said "expose yourself at your own risk," and then I mooned a Target employee stocking shelves in the orthopedics. Now I gotta go to Target all the way in Springfield now. Yeah. But has anyone else partaken in any maskless activities since the lift?
So I guess
there's no one. Go ahead.
Jamal.
I think we all have thoughts. It's just habit, man. I still have not gone into a store without a mask.
Yeah.
And that, I've been around family maskless. Everybody's vaccinated. Mm-hmm. So that's about my comfort level right now. I'm still not doing the store thing. Why? Because I feel like there's still probably a slight stigma associated with it. Like even, and I don't know when that breaking point is going to be for people where we just feel like, okay, we can finally let go of, all these things. And for some people, it's never going to happen. But for the majority,
I still look at people without a mask. I'm like, you're a fucking Republican, aren't you?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. Yeah, but I'm walking around outside, not just in my neighborhood, but out in other places without a mask. If I approach a group, I put it back on. But that's about as much as I've done now. It's just been more smaller groups of people I already know and trust, and I know that have been vaccinated. But I'm not I'm not going all out yet. Yeah, I don't think so.
I hear you, Neil.
So, similar to Jamal, I was just with my extended family, and we're all vaccinated. So for that entire weekend, mask off. But Safeway, I went there yesterday. Put it on, made sure the entire time. I feel like it just makes other people feel a little bit better, even though in theory it's no different. And I'm just a little bit also annoyed with the CDC. It's like, what was the point of you saying, oh, immediately everybody who's fully vaccinated doesn't need to wear a mask? Why not set a target date in the future, June 1st or something? And because now what is the incentive for anybody who's an anti-vaxxer to get vaccinated if they can just lie and say, oh, I'm vaccinated?
Yeah. I mean, I get the strategy, but then I don't get the strategy. It's like a fit all, cover all bases type of shit. No absolutism, no actual policy. Like I went to the mall and I went to the mall and I was like, okay, is this a no mask zone? Is it a mask zone? And I walked in and half the people had masks on, half the people didn't have masks on.
Right.
And I don't want to be that fucking piece of shit who doesn't have their mask on.
Exactly.
Some people with their masks on, so I'm just like, I'm just a fucking follower, dude.
Well, that's exactly. Well, I went to a trampoline, kids' place for a birthday party, and that's kind of how my approach was when I was there. Like, if I saw a group of people without a mask on, I kind of felt out of place. I kind of bring it down a little bit, and then all of a sudden you see like a flock of people with masks back on. You just kind of slide it back up. But it all aligns to the whole approach for COVID from the beginning, right? Just kind of out of sorts, no rhyme or reason, no pattern. A month ago or 2 months ago, we were clowning the Rangers for hosting, a full sold out game in Texas, right? But then you kind of look at it like, okay, well, it's Texas, right? They're kind of doing things a lot more irresponsibly than, some other people might be, outside of those areas.
By the way, speaking of Texas, we should have put Texas out there. Texas is allowing open carry for people who have no permits and no license or permits. Just get a fucking gun and roll with it. So shout out to Texas being completely different for the rest of the country.
Yeah, no bullshit, man. Yeah. So I mean, even at MSG, they partitioned the stadium between vaccinated and non-vaccinated, and I think Spike was in the vaccinated section, but he looked like he didn't trust that shit either. He was still double masked up. He said, "How many motherfuckers came off the fucking 7 line?" You know.
Look, man, if you're an older person, I don't know if I would really feel that comfortable either. I mean, it's a lot of honor system going on there, like for real.
It is.
And that's going to be the case with all of us.
And one of the things that people don't realize, like you wearing a mask, if you're fully vaccinated, that doesn't protect you. It's people who are unvaccinated that can spread it and do that stuff that need to be wearing the mask. But I don't know. I feel like everybody's just going to be psyched out until some certain breaking point. But hopefully it starts to happen soon.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? There might be another outbreak. There might not be, but I mean, they're putting the onus on the non-vax people, right, or on the non-mask people. You know, come out at your own will. The vaxxed folks kind of feel safe. Like, even if I do get it, it won't be that serious. And then the people that aren't vaxxed and decide to go maskless, well, that's what they believe. So the moral of this segment remains: expose yourself at your own risk. Because that was actually coincidentally the same disclaimer the NBA playoffs gave Scott Brooks for his coaching. Expose yourself at your own risk. Because listen, this shit isn't even fun to make fun of anymore. But we gonna do it anyways. Open Gym is next. All right, so the Wizards. Always got to start with the Wizards. You know, this team looks good on paper. You see the matchups.
Every year.
Do they?
Yeah, they look good on paper. You
What kind of fucking paper do you looking at?
No.
Yeah.
All right, throwing out the John Wall injury years, like even that year they had Dwight Howard and Austin Rivers. Everybody was like, "Oh, okay."
Exactly. On paper, there's something that always like just gleams out at you, but you start to force yourself to believe there's a chance, right? You see, like even this year, you see Beal, you see Russ, you see a little potential in the front court to try to stop Embiid. And then like reality strikes very quickly in the first quarter, right? in game 1 against the Sixers. And you quickly realize there's no fucking chance, right? Neil, the Wizards, right? They didn't stand a chance against not one of the Sixers front court players, right? Simmons didn't shoot well, but overcompensated his bad shooting with 15 dimes, 15 assists. Tobias Harris, who I low-key stan, dropped 28 in the first half alone. I want to start with Embiid because personally I feel like that's where Brooks's coaching decisions were exposed the most.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start there. I mean, they had no answer for this guy.
Right. And, you know, to a degree, and at some point, he's going to get his at, you know, any point in case. The thing that's terrible is that the Wizards' double teams were just so apathetic and really pathetic. Like, there was just no aggression on the part. It was just leaving open gaps for shooters, and the Wizards' rotation defense, let's be fair, is never going to be that good. They can't move faster than the ball. And, you know, we'll see. Scott Brooks' rotations are always a little curious. You know, he says, oh, Daniel Gafford can't play, 10, 12-minute stretches. But then that's why you start him then. And then you break up his playing time.
The dude is rolling out a 3-guard lineup. Not just any 3-guard lineup, but 2 guys that are under 6'3". You got Ish Smith.
Fun-size lineup, as you say.
The fun-size lineup against arguably the biggest team in the league.
Right.
It's insane.
Because in the occasions where Rudy is getting switched off of Tobias, that's where he's absolutely eating.
Every time.
If he gets Howell Neto on him, if he gets Ish Smith on him, if he gets Brad on him, he's going to go to work against those guys.
Yeah.
Same way Tatum did.
Switching has plagued this team for years.
Right. Years.
Especially under Scott Brooks.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, there's the 3-guard lineups, the lack of playing time for Gafford, even with Gafford, right? I mean, again, it looks good on paper, but Gafford is just, two bad moves away from getting into foul trouble, and he's out, right?
Yeah, he's going to have to learn to keep his feet much more, better. I mean, his athleticism kind of works against him when he bites on stuff because he'll end up in the fucking first row of the seats. Brooks kind of made a comment about Gafford today, saying, I think the question was asked of why is he not getting more minutes? And Neil, you can probably speak to this more. He kind of took a shot at his weight and conditioning, which I thought was weird.
Yeah. So, and Chase Hughes is the one that, put the quote out there, and it was so stupid. Like, first of all, Scott Brooks thinks that Daniel Gafford, and, I get that, he's just taking a guess. He can't, see somebody and say, okay, he's exactly this weight. But he said, oh, I don't know, he's about 260 pounds. And I'm like, that man is not 260 pounds.
Yeah,
he is maybe 240.
Yeah,
like
it's
he
at
is definitely
235.
not that heavy. And he wasn't saying it as so much that Gafford's out of shape, but he was just trying to say, oh, we play at such a fast pace that like even an in shape NBA center is not going to be able to keep up. I didn't get a chance to ask Gafford if he actually thought that was the case because I'm in the doghouse with PR, but that's just a load of crap.
This man got us a nut feed.
Yeah, Gafford should be playing. I would say play Gafford 32 minutes a game, start him 8 minutes, rest him 8 minutes, halftime, 8 minutes, same thing in the second half. But we'll see. Scott Brooks going to Scott Brooks.
Here's the thing: there's got to be some more disruption against Embiid because even Embiid with the foul trouble early on in the first half, the motherfucker still finished with 30 points. This guy demands a double team and something a strong double team, a real double team, right? Like you got to put bodies on this motherfucker, and then you got to be able to close out and kind of run back. Because they got other weapons, right? I mean, even Thibault will hit a fucking 3 or a long 2 or mid-range jumper if he's given enough space. This team is hard to beat. I don't see them really having much of a chance. We'll get into a little bit of that later. But outside of Brooks and all his evergreen mishaps, Russell Westbrook, right? I mean, he had one of those downers. The guy who turned into a literal Rambo for such a large stretch late in the season. He had an underwhelming game 1, which is hilarious to say when you look at his stat line, right? 16 points, 14 dimes. But he did have 6 turnovers, a bit of a liability on defense, leaving his man, allowing some backdoor cuts, took a lot of bad shots. And of course the controversial out of bounds call, which kind of really kind of drained the team at that point.
That thing, real quick, it was so unnecessarily trying to save the ball to himself. He had 3 guys in the backcourt with him, nobody from Philadelphia pressing. Like he just needs to toss it back to them, reset, move on. Don't put anything in the officials' decision making because you already feel that they're screwing you with the foul line discrepancy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He definitely overplays a lot, and I think that's part of the team. Just kind of when he sees the team struggling, he just that hero ball it's
for sure
something that just comes out really strongly. But the term, quote playoff Westbrook has generally meant good things. If you look at his numbers over the course of the years, he's been very productive. Last year was a bad playoff experience for Westbrook in Houston.
He was playing with the torn quad, the other quad back then.
Yeah, exactly. That torn quad kind of creeped up late in the season, into the offseason and early this season. And now his game 1 struggles. You could almost say that if you want to vouch for Brooks, that his struggles were kind of a difference maker in the game. Zane, how does he bounce back? Game 2.
I think Russell Westbrook he's the kind of player now that I feel like he's going to have some strong performances, but I just feel like at this point in his career and just overall, first and foremost, if you're not prepared for Westbrook, if you're not doing the right things, he's going to tear your ass up, right? But if you have a game plan for him, he really just feeds into that with his miscues. I think it feels like he's predetermining a lot of times where he's going to go. And that's what kind of bothers me about the torn quad. I mean, I watched him play, in the Houston Rockets series last year. And, whether or not, he had injuries or what else was going on. I mean, the decision-making, he just plays at this speed all the time. And there's certain points in games where the game has to slow down. And he's never been able to adjust to that. And it depends on what your cup of tea is, right? If you're into these numbers and stats, and those obviously matter, like the numbers are the numbers, right? Double doubles, triple doubles, that's great. But for me, I always think back to critical moments and the kind of mistakes he's made. I think back to, and look, he's still a great player, but going back in time, I remember when he was in his first finals, he was the best player on the court, right? In my opinion, when he played against the Heat, just his aggression, his demeanor, he was very consistent in that series. But I always think about, against, when they played the Warriors and he was on the Thunder, just the critical mistakes and the turnovers to the point where he feels like he needs to force it. And when he's trying to force it, it's just nothing is computing for him. He's not looking at anybody else on defense. He's ball watching. I've seen in the past, when they played the Spurs, Tony Parker would just eat his ass up on defense, right? And it's unfortunate because he's so athletic. He's long. measurables, whatever, but he gets caught ball watching and really trying to make a play all the time, when in actuality he needs to just bear down and play defense. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he's respected so much by, you know, historically by players like, you know, Jordan, Kobe. They think he's one of the greats of all time, is because he just doesn't give a fuck, right?
He's a force. Yeah, he's a force to be reckoned with, regardless.
He's a force to be reckoned with, but there's always, you know, your positive is always going to have a negative, especially in sports. For him, it's always going to be like that. I mean, to answer the question, he's going to have some bounce back games. I just think he's the kind of player, and at this point, if he's going to be your 1A or 1B, there's going to be so many negatives, and they're going to cost you games, you know.
But you have to agree that, though, like mentally, for a guy like that specifically, when you've got a team that's really not giving you much else outside of what you do and maybe one other guy, which is obviously Beal, right? Mm-hmm. That nature of overplaying and being extra aggressive to a fault, it happens more often. And
of course, it happens more often. And if you have a coach like this, who's going to give you the
who's just going to let you do it, right?
To do whatever you want. Like, in my mind, I'm not saying I'm qualified to coach anybody, because I've never been a good never been a good coach. I feel like I've been a good teacher, but I've never been able to really rein people in. But like, in my opinion, it's like, hey, you know what we need you to lock down Simmons. We need you to play lockdown defense. Fuck everything else. We need you to be a distributor. Hey, we're going to Beal in the fourth quarter. We need you to fill in everything else. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see the ball touch the ground. If we miss a shot, they miss a shot. So that's what great coaching is, right? It's tricking motherfuckers into doing shit they're not used to doing. That's really what it is, right? When it comes down to managing personalities. So I agree. It's sad, but at the end of the day, you know, we can only discuss Westbrook as Westbrook and Brooks as Brooks. We got to separate that sometimes, right? So
well,
and so I'll say, obviously the 76ers are a whole different beast, but you know, they were in a similar situation last week. You know, they lost the initial play-in game to Boston. Westbrook didn't have a great game. Brooks, you know, got outcoached by Stevens in the second half. And then they respond pretty well, you know, against the Hornets in a do-or-die game. Westbrook plays well. You know, Brooks does, you know, nothing to impede the team. You know, we'll see what they come out with tomorrow, game 2. You know, Brad says, you know, I can play better. He was only, I think, 1 of 5 or 1 of 6 from 3. You know, they'll have a chance, but, you know, do they come out and with a much needed 1-1, you know, split to stay alive, or do they get beat down like Miami and Boston just did in game 2?
Right. I mean, it's clear in the playoffs that regardless of how many stars you have, and we're talking about, you know, other guys stepping up now, there's always got to be an X factor, right? There's always got to be that one sleeper, that one guy that out of nowhere just steps up to the plate, steps up to the elevated challenge of winning playoff games. We've seen Bertans, we've seen Ish Smith, we've seen Rui, Howell Nato, Robin Lopez. You've got guys that have that potential. Jamal, who is that guy?
So I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think just like Brad had his breakout playoff game, remember that on the road in Indiana, you know, I forgot what year it was for him.
15, 14.
Yeah. I feel like Rui is poised to have a breakout game.
Okay.
You know, I just feel like it's time. When you look at the Philly matchups, and I'm thinking, you know, the Wizards really struggle in the half court offense because Philly's just so good defensively. They got matchup, you know, they match you up tough, and you know it's just kind of difficult to move the ball around the perimeter on them. With the way that you know, the Philly's going to play Russ to try to cut down penetration. And also, I mean, they threw a lot of shit at Brad early on, which is why he kind of struggled out of the blocks. I think there's opportunities for Rui. His mid-range game is still, you know, as good as ever. If he could just bite into that aggression just a little bit more, I think he can have a really solid game. He needs that confidence boost, and I think he's kind of poised to do it. And obviously, in the transition game, which is where our strength is, you know, frankly, you know, we just need Ish to keep doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
In the end, I mean, there's probably nobody faster in the league than Ish. I mean, he can get the ball up and down the court, and you can see the team respond when Ish is getting easy buckets. I mean, he's the one that's
Ronald McDonald shoe having ass motherfucker. Them old big ass size 14 red shoes, man. On a 6'1" body, man. Go ahead.
Oh, fruit fungus hair, motherfucker. So I'm looking for Ish.
I'm glad you brought up Rui. I want to stick to Rui for a second. because a lot of the things that you mentioned about Rui, I've seen, and I've really kind of been waiting for him to really break out with a lot of those moves. The mid-range game, like you said, is solid. He's got some sick post moves, and he's got some real good moves in the post and down low on the baseline where he can really kind of catch a lot of bigs off guard. I've seen him do it a lot. I feel like this series, being a playoff series, being as a number one team, being against a bigger team in the league with perennial all-stars and an MVP candidate, this is like a litmus test for Rui that we want to see him, even if he struggles a bit. Just the experience itself for the long haul.
I just want to see, I want to see hunger, right?
I want to see hunger, yes.
And I don't think we have Otto Porter part 2 in terms of demeanor, because we've seen Rui, getting hungry and actually attack the rim more. I mean, he's done it more this season than obviously he has before. But it's like almost like what, like I want the motherfucker to get in a fight, like right when the ball tips, like somebody just push him into the scorer's table and shit. Like just
a little bit of Kelly Oubre in him.
Yeah, man, get that dog in him, because I know he can do it. He's physically there. He's just got to.
He got a little baby face, but he looked like he could snap.
He could.
I think he will snap.
Yeah, somebody throw a soda at him or some shit like that.
Yeah,
fucking step on his Timbs and shit.
Yeah. On Philly's side, who I'm afraid of in game 2 is Seth Curry. Someone who does nothing but shoot, and who started slow. He ended up, I think, 3 for 9 at the end of the game, but he started slow.
He's been open though.
Yeah, once he got in rhythm, it was kind of rough, and we benefited honestly from Philly being cold from the 3-point line early
3
on.
of 17 in the first half.
Yeah, so I'm super fearful that Seth is going to just start clicking like in the first quarter, and that might lead to a long night. So he's the one.
Especially if the Wizards decide to make the adjustment on Embiid and start, bringing guys into the paint more often. Yeah. Are they going to be able to close out? Or are they going to be able to get back?
Or overplan for Tobias Harris, who scored like 80 points in the first half. I mean, I feel like those switches, those defensive scheme switches, could lead to just a bunch of easy shots. And we do not defend the perimeter well at all.
Yeah, I mean, because even the most basic adjustments will fucking mind boggle Scott Brooks, and just smoke starts coming out of his ears and shit.
Like glasses that he doesn't even have start fogging up.
Okay, so quick hitters. Let's wrap this thing up with the Wizards. Game 2 predictions. I'm going with Philly through and through. I don't even know if Wizards win a game, but game 2 definitely goes to Philly.
Yeah, I'm going with another close one, but probably a loss also.
I'll be the optimist and see if I can buy my way out of the doghouse. I'll say Wizards win and get the split.
Speak it into existence. Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Damn, man.
This is Office Space?
Y'all motherfuckers always got me drinking the Kool-Aid and shit. Neil got me drinking the Kool-Aid.
Don't drink it, man.
76ers are going to still win the series, no doubt. But I think Wizards will put up a fight.
I mean, I think the Wizards got a chance in the series. For game 2, I think this game is very close, goes down to the wire. I think Philly takes it, but I think it's going to be enough for Wizards fans to be like, we got game 3 if so-and-so happens.
I think we'll get game 3. I think that's the only win we get. But I don't see the game 2 win.
The usual cycle for these things and what I've seen play out, game 2 close, goes down the wire, the team like the Wizards loses. Game 3, a team like the Wizards, wins in a close game, and then game 4, the game is close and they fall apart in game 4, and then game 5, it's all over.
They can close out. Game 3 might be like a blowout. Like usually, like they'll swing back to like a blowout.
Yeah, you can see that too. Yeah. It's like a 10-15 point win that they've away.
And it's gonna be all on the players. It's gonna be all on the players. My pessimism just kind of keeps going back to Scott Brooks until I can see a game where the fault doesn't solely lie on or largely lie on Scott Brooks. Is when I'll be a little more optimistic. So we'll see how it goes. Game 2.
We'll go big bold takes. I'll say Russ and Brad combined for 80 in a game 2 win.
They have to.
Oh shit!
In a game 2 win, they have to. Okay.
The fuck is in your cup? What's in your cup?
Drinking the Corona tonight.
Okay, take it slow.
All right. So we'll leave it there with the Wizards. They played it. Well, when you're listening to this, they'll be playing in a few hours. So hope we can spark some optimism for you guys. Let's go ahead and go around the rest of the NBA playoffs. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to dish out some participation trophies. There were some fucking great games over the weekend. They kind of simmered down a little bit over the past 2 nights. Saw some blowouts, but we'll start off with the MSG crowd, who in their first playoff game home playoff game in 8 years. Showed up, showed out, cussing out the opposing superstar. Jim Dolan probably punched one of his staff members. The game was fantastic. And in the end, in pure MSG playoff form, the verbally abused opposing superstar drops the game-winning floater, shushes the crowd. He had the motherfuckers like this right now, right here. This is Trae Young.
I bought the ticket at no.
No. 12:40. No.
I was in the seat.
Trae Young, Neil, quick hitters. Does he do it again in game 2?
No, I think Tom Thibodeau is going to come back and they're going to find a way to make some defensive adjustments. But it was actually funny. I was driving back from the long weekend and family in Connecticut. And I was dropping off my cousin in New York. I was literally 5 blocks away from MSG right before it tipped. I was like, damn, can I use this credential over here real quick?
Your cousin lives 5 blocks from MSG?
Yeah.
Wow.
Damn, big money.
Yeah, that finance.
Okay.
Shout out to Danilo Gallinari for that mohawk, and shout out to the kid Miro who actually used Marcin Gortat as a comparison.
Okay.
He used the barber joke. He's the barber. What do you want? He goes, you remember Marcin Gortat? Say no more. And there you go, Danilo Gallinari with the mohawk. One other funny bit about this game was the mayor of New York City, De Blasio. I know, Jamal, you want to throw him in detention, but I couldn't help myself here. The dude who, like, just a few days removed, had been sporting a Harden jersey. Was that earlier in the year? I can't remember, but decides to come out and call out Trae Young. I'm gonna play this bit real quick.
Message, Trae Young, on behalf of the people in New York City.
Message.
Anyone who cares about actually playing basketball. Right. I want to quote Steve Nash, one great player, great coach. He says, "quote unquote, that's not basketball." Trae, that hawk's not going to fly in New York City. Come on. If you can win, I think the Knicks are going to teach you a lesson.
Why does that motherfucker's voice sound like somebody prank calling to the school? Like, oh, can you let Sharif out early today? It's he's not supposed to be in school anymore.
Oh my God.
He got a kazoo in his throat. Like, what the fuck?
He really thought that hawk's not gonna fly in New York. He thought that was it.
He thought that was clever.
He thought that shit was flames. He had written that shit out 2 hours before.
That was it.
He was like, I got myself something here now.
That's right. I got a hawk. Yeah.
My goodness.
I don't know how anybody in that PR department tells that guy that that's a good idea.
He probably ad-libbed that shit. It sounded like it.
Honestly, man, you need shit like this, man. Like, you never know what the fuck will get in people's head. Like, I mean, obviously he's not Phil Jackson, but Phil Jackson just dropped these little dime, like in the post game. Well, they called a lot of fouls. I didn't think that was a foul. Like, and then the next fucking game, the officials are like just thinking about that shit, man. Like,
you think Trae Young got a picture of Mayor De Blasio in his locker room?
No, I'm saying, like, you never know how games are. That would be hilarious.
they got a picture of De Blasio
montage where it's like Drago's picture and he's fucking straps it off. They got
a picture of De Blasio like on the door of the locker room, like as they walk out and just punches it, like
yeah,
like above the door jam, motherfuckers jump up and hit it, but as it come out,
smack his face.
Oh my God!
All right, let's switch it to the West. Let's switch it to the West real quick. LeBron James. Listen, let me tell you something. This man is so easy to make fun of. All right, and whatever perception he gives people, it's his damn fault. All right, his cult wants to deny it, but we've seen him as a contrived individual. He's been that throughout his career, and so even if that shoulder injury and it looked painful as it might have been, we've just seen the antics for far too long to let the joke slide.
Yeah.
So Bron gets banged up. The Oscar video comes out, which was absolutely fucking hilarious.
It was great.
Somebody spent time on that shit. Bron gets banged up. AD can't step up. DeAndre Ayton was superb on him defensively. Zane, tell us about your former favorite basketball team, the Lakers.
Oh my God! You want me to start with LeBron or AD? Because
wherever you want. AD caught a lot of heat, more heat than LeBron probably did.
It actually.
So
here's the thing with AD, and the Lakers had a huge problem with this last year in the playoffs. AD, as great as he is, he has turned into a very finesse player. He's a finesse player through and through. You know, he's basically, I mean, obviously he makes big plays inside, but he's not a back to the basket, back a guy down. You know, he's really relied on the mid range. He just doesn't bang anymore, and he doesn't want to play the five. He's not interested, and it's very clear. And there was a lot of issues with that last year with Vogel, and I think Ayton is just, even though he's in his third year and he's been criticized heavily in the past, his skill set, his size, he's not slow, right? He's a big guy. He's got some moves. He's a solid defender. You know, he can rebound. This is just a bad matchup in a sense. You know, in any other team, AD would still be able to probably overcome this. But the dilemma here is that you got Chris Paul, right? You got Chris Paul and you got Booker. So when you got Chris Paul and Devin Booker running the pick and roll, the defense has to make a decision. And Drummond was getting killed on this, you know, and AD was just getting beat up, right? So you take his finesse kind of style, he's getting beat up. It's kind of demoralizing him. And you got the pick and roll to come with Booker and then come with Chris Paul, and the team has to make a decision every time. Do we sag off Booker, or you know, do we switch? And you got a small guy coming up on DeAndre. I mean, DeAndre Ayton was 10 for 11, and all of his shots were pretty much right in front of the rim, right? So all of his shots were on the same action, pick and roll action. Chris Paul coming around the corner. Chris Paul, one of the best mid-range shooters ever.
So hold on. So do you think that AD struggled because he was getting because of the pick and roll defense and he was just getting banged up? Or my thing is this, is like, is AD actually molding into that finesse player that he wants to become, that stretch five? Can we count on him on a nightly basis to be, because here's the thing, Ayton might be up to something here, right? If teams are going to start to feel like if we can keep pushing AD further out onto the perimeter away from the paint, right, that he may struggle more, that that maybe there's this idea that if we keep him away from the basket and force him to shoot shots, that we're better off beating him than him being a banger inside.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the formula, right?
Yeah.
I mean, AD is a finesse player at this point, to me.
Okay,
right? To me, he's a finesse player. But what's happened is when the Lakers have came through strong, their team defense has really just stepped up. You know, anytime they've gotten killed in a certain game, they've just come back with, when they decide to clamp down, they're able to really smother players, even on pick and rolls. They have a lot of guards. They get a lot of hate, but they're all really good defenders. And they're going to come out with a game plan, I think, to kind of limit Ayton in that sense. I don't think the problems with AD are going to change. I just think the defense is going to get better from a scheme perspective, and I think AD is going to start hitting some of these shots. I just feel like right now, you know, AD's had some injuries this year. He is that finesse player, and now he's running into this perfect combination of Chris Paul, one of the best pick and roll players of all time, Devin Booker, a great ISO scorer, and then you have Ayton running the pick and roll, who has the size, the speed, and the skill set to challenge him. So I think we're just going to see the worst of AD in this series. I just don't think it's going to be as glaring as game one, because of the rest of the defense is going to kind of be molded to figure this pick and roll out. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. I mean,
LeBron,
the dude was like,
Jesus Christ.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't understand. Like, I know I'm a LeBron fucking hater, and I get it. I fucking get it. But like, I just don't understand. It's like the brain, like, I see all this stuff every day. I see people like post on Facebook, whatever, like, oh, Luka be flopping and Luka be doing this, and then like so-and-so player be doing this. But nobody says a word about all the shit that LeBron fucking does. Nothing. And it's like, I just never seen like any great player feel like, I mean, I respect it, like, get any advantage you can. But it's like you're bigger than everybody, you're stronger than everybody,
so
you're faster than everybody. You get
the no, here's the thing. But here's the thing, the antics and the whole acting and all that shit. But here's the thing, the drama, the dramatization of his injury, only to come back and just look fine again. That's the whole thing with me.
So they're going so long. They're like three plays, man.
Right. And dude, I was beside myself last night crying at the sideline video. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but you know how after he got undercut, right? Yeah. And the scuffle started out between, you know, Harrell and Caruso and who was it? Cameron Payne. So So LeBron's on the ground, right? And obviously he's demanding attention to him, but everyone else starts looking at the fight. So as the fight disperses a bit and people clear out, you just see LeBron coming out from the crowd of, you know, the people that were around him, still holding his shoulder and limping, like kind of walking directly to where the fight was. So the eyes could still stay on him. And I mean, it may not have been what was in his mind. Again, it may have been though at the same time, but regardless, the antics, we've seen it for so long.
I mean, that whole Draymond thing, he got up.
Yeah,
I didn't feel like his eye was red at all. He was just like, I can't see.
I missed the middle one. I saw 3 rims.
He is constantly trying to write a fairy tale, like a story. You know what I'm saying? Like the narrative, right?
People eat this shit up, man. They eat this shit up.
Like
when Chris Paul,
working on my game. Yeah. I saw 3 rims. So I just shot for the middle. Like, what kind of fucking Rocky shit is that, man? Like,
even ESPN when Chris Paul got injured, right? Their first post was, "Oh, look at LeBron, checking up on Chris Paul after his injury," and there was no other post about Chris Paul's injury except for the fact that LeBron James was checking on him, even though Chris Paul ended up playing the game with fucking half an arm, shooting shit with his left hand and shit. Yeah. But yeah, we wanted to make sure we addressed.
There was like one game I want to say when the Lakers got eliminated from the playoffs like 2-3 years ago, and like it was a game that got eliminated. It was the first time LeBron had to make the playoffs in like years, and like they put like a cast on his hand, like his hand was broken, and like he was like, I broke my hand or some shit. Like he punched something weeks ago. Like he just casually dropped that shit in there. And then like 2 days later, the shit was fucking gone. And like the story just disappeared off the face of the fucking earth.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
Hairline fracture in the 5th metacarpal, but only seen by a tiny microscope.
And then like you can't even find that shit on the internet. It's like he scrubbed that shit from the internet or some shit. You can't find a fucking video. None of it.
I mean, just today, Kristaps Porzingis got in trouble for breaking COVID
50
protocols.
50 large,
G's, man, 50 G's.
Right. Days after LeBron was kind of in the same situation.
Yeah.
Ain't no way they suspended him.
And they're not suspending him, of course, right? And on top of that, a guy who completely tried to cover up whether or not he got vaccinated.
LeBron would be that motherfucker that won't reply to none of your fucking emails. Like, just like,
no,
fuck you.
Definitely.
Yeah. You set up a WebEx. I'm not fucking attending. I'm not replying to that shit. I'm not doing nothing. I'm CCing the fucking GM. He's going to reply.
He finally reads it like 2 weeks later. He's like, "Oh, it ended up in the promotion tab," like lying like shit, like.
Yeah.
Issue gets resolved. And he's like, "Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for getting this done."
Yeah.
Let's stay in LA real quick, because probably the funniest soundbite that came out of the games was Luka putting a move on Pat Bev and then yelling at him, "You're too fucking small." Because it's one thing when you're shit talking on the court where you kind of like refer to somebody in the third person like, "This motherfucker's too small, man. This motherfucker ain't guard me." But when you say you're too fucking small,
barking right at him,
barking right at him, and then Pat Bev like does nothing but complain to the ref, like kind of just playing it off. Jamal, that's your type of shit talking, isn't it?
Yeah, I fuck with Luka, man. Luka's like he's got the good like true dirty Euro shit with him. Yeah. Like he came across as like the boy next doorish type of feel. Yeah. But Luka, he's like one of the top in the league in text this season, and he's like done some dirty shit. So the shit talking goes right along with it, and he can back it up. He's a fucking, the dude's a really fucking good player.
And you're all happy it's against Patrick Beverly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Look, I used to be a fan of Bev because he did all the dirty shit, but I don't think he realizes he's not that good anymore. He's been leapfrogged by at least probably 2 people on the depth chart as far as LA goes.
He's not even like a top 5 goon anymore, is he?
He's not.
Right.
He's not.
But Pat Bev was historically one of those dudes, and we could do a segment out of this, like the dudes that you fucking hate, right? But you would love on your own squad.
Right.
You don't want
you want him on your
Pat
team.
Pat Bev, Marcus Smart.
Bev's the type that would play
Draymond Green, even
play on the. He would hoop in some black Air Force Ones. Jeans with the waist too big, but the belt like kind of with the shit be kind of bunched up in the front, and no shirt, and drop 20 on you.
Fucking foam passes and shit.
Yeah, dunking in jeans, right.
Dunking in jeans and foam passes. Like 30 pounds.
Exactly. Yeah. So shout out Pat Bev, you get a participation trophy for that shit. The Heat. I don't even want to talk about the Heat right now. These fucks, they just need to pack it up, man. They got Kobe by Chris Middleton in game one.
Chris Middleton, incredible.
Yeah, Kobe by Chris Middleton. They get lit up by 34 in game two. Despite personally being a moderate Jimmy Butler fan, I don't really care about the series otherwise.
I just care about Spo because I'm a huge Spo fan. Like I would love to have
Spo fan.
Spo
Okay.
Yeah. So I always hate to see him get bounced from the playoffs because he's such a fucking phenomenal coach. But yeah, this series is not really any. You tune in to watch Giannis, but beyond that, it's not really drawing attention.
I'm kind of wondering where they go from here. I mean, I think I love Spoelstra, like you said. I just feel like I kind of saw this coming. I had a feeling they were gonna get fucking smashed. I feel like last year was just their year.
Yeah.
They were just feeling it in the zone, and their talent level wasn't that high, but they were doing something special last year, and I just felt like it was coming apart. So
you can never rule out Pat in free agency. Never.
Exactly. They just need one player. So,
yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
He starts every free agency conversation with, "Hey, no state tax."
Yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't you want to come to Miami?
So I'm gonna bring up two more trophies, and we're gonna wrap this up. So the Blazers and Nuggets, right? This series is split at one apiece. The Nuggets crowd, they get the participation trophy for game one, right? Because they try to get into Melo's ass.
Right.
Melo instead dropped 12 on him in the first quarter. CJ Dame later on, the defense was too much for the Nuggets. Game two, the Nuggets roared back last night and won handily. But even though his team won, Campazzo for the Nuggets, he got to get a participation trophy award. We as a group have to put together an all-time team of short agitators that are on the floor, right? Your Campazzos, your Howell Natos, your Delavadovas, JJ Barea might be the greatest of all time, right? Yeah. But your short South American brown guys, right? Dudes that will nag the fuck out of you, get in your face, get under your legs, and then but just one forearm, one shoulder, right? And the arms are flapping and flying onto the ground. I know Campazzo did that a couple times, and you don't want to say it, but just the demeanor, just the height, just a brown guy, like, the fuck out of my face, man. Like, I think that's where that forearm came from, CJ last night. So shout out Campazzo, you get a trophy. And lastly, Dylan Brooks, who historically is probably your prototype participation trophy recipient. I mean, for no particular reason, right? It's Dylan fucking Brooks, right? Career 14 a night guy, solid rotation player, nothing special, but he shows out in game one, drops 31, to supplement John Morant's 26. The bigger stat line here for Zane is that John Morant in his post-game interview used the term approximately 78 times in a 4-minute span, apparently. Somebody did the math. Don't quote us on that. That actually equates to one per 2.97 seconds. I'm just glad that's not a baseball ERA for a pitcher. How did he do it? Let's hear it. That might have been looped a little bit. Shout out to John Morant beating the number 1 seed Utah Jazz. They're without Donovan Mitchell, which was also kind of a funny little thing that kind of came out post game with Mitchell being a late game scratch. And Gobert not knowing about it, this, that, and the other. We got some more Utah Jazz to talk about in Detention. We'll leave it there for the NBA playoffs. So who's winning the Lakers game right now?
It's halftime. Lakers are up a little bit right now.
A handful, like 6 maybe.
Okay. We'll switch over to the NFL really quickly. Not much to report, but earlier this week on FS1, Undisputed with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless. What is this shit? Always
terrible.
Shit like this always drops on a Monday. It's just like the tone setter for the fucking week. Some dumb shit.
Yeah.
So Shannon, just a quick recap, dials up Julio Jones live on the air, asking him if he's staying in Atlanta. To which Julio answers and says, "I'm out of there. I want to win." Now, two angles that this whole thing is being looked at. One is, oh my God, Julio wants out. How does this play out for Atlanta? Is he going to Dallas? there's been evidently a big elephant in the room between Julio and the front office about, his status and his future. But now that it's been fully out there, I think it's kind of released a lot of that tension for the team. That's one part. Let's talk about Shannon Sharp here. I mean, this is, and I don't know. Nothing's really came out of it since then about whether or not he pre-planned this call with Julio, or he decided to just go out on a limb and fucking call him. But this is some D'Angelo Russell shit, right? I mean, and then on top of that, Shannon decides to provide a disclaimer at the end of the call. Oh, by the way, we live. Like at the end of the call. Yeah. So
why is Dallas in the mix? Why was Dallas mentioned in this whole thing?
Always in the fuck. Because Jerry Jones gets his dick hard anytime a player.
Out of there, man.
But they were saying don't go to Dallas if you're trying to win.
Like that boy Julio Jones.
Julio Jones.
Fit in Dallas.
Julio Holmes.
Julio Holmes.
I mean, free Julio, man, because he's been on a shit team. I hate seeing stars of any sport stuck on a bad team. And this is a team that should have started cleaning their shit up a while ago. They just held on to a just aggressively mediocre team. Not even that, actually a bad team.
And you know what was one of the glaring stats for Julio and playing in Atlanta? And Zane, I know you're a Matt Ryan enthusiast. Maybe I think you are. No, what? But it was it was crazy. Like Julio Jones had the least percentage of targets in the red zone. Like they just stopped throwing him the fucking ball in the red zone. Like it was a really detrimental stat for the team, and just them not scoring touchdowns in general. They just stopped looking for their targets. And Julio just had, I think he had one of the least targets for a guy of his caliber in the red zone. So definitely free Julio. See where it plays out. Is he at the end of his contract? Does he still have years on his contract?
I think he's got some money left on it.
He's got some, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about another group chat. It's the fact. I mean, where do you slot him in terms of value, considering the fact that he's over 30? Mm-hmm. He's always hurt.
Yeah,
and I think he's owed a chunk of money. So
I mean, they don't have enough money to pay their draft picks. What's going on? That's
bad.
What
they
the
fuck?
fuck?
They
How does that happen?
No money. I mean, they're just I mean, they got time to figure it out, but they're
Jesus Christ.
They're capped out.
Right.
Man.
Yeah, and that
they won like 4 games last season.
Yeah.
That's
terrible. I mean, yeah, but that all that plays into the notion that I guess the Falcons are kind of relieved now that it's out there, it's made public, and they can kind of
probably playing that shit.
Arthur Blank like twirling his mustache in the corner.
Fucking Arthur Blank, man. He just seems like that dad that's always disappointed by his kids or some shit. Like he just comes downstairs and he's like the dad that comes in the living room and nobody knows he's there and like, oh shit.
To me, he looks so old fashioned. I feel like he just doesn't know anything about any technology. Just never used a cell phone. Still smokes a pipe.
Smokes a pipe.
So, he looks like the fucking he'd be like the dad in like the Knives Out remake or some shit, like some old ass English house with he has like 4 kids who are trying to compete for the fucking the rest of the trust funds.
He's like a Disney character that came to life.
Always in a window and shit, like parting the curtains.
Yeah.
He's like that dude whose sister disappeared 20 years ago, and he hires Daniel Craig as an investigator to figure out what happened. He's like,
he got like a fucking dog that looks exactly like him on his
Now, if you
just loaded with
my
cash,
sister, there's a large amount of financial incentive.
Choose wisely.
Choose wisely.
Oh my god, Arthur Blank. I did not script that shit tonight. Wow, that's awesome. Other quarterback news: Deshaun Watson. This is interesting because it is like a fucking hell of a storyline here, right?
Who do you mess with now?
No, nothing. Just kind of looking at the entire landscape of things. No one's interested in Deshaun Watson anymore. No one's talking about acquiring him. No one's talking about trying to get through all these cases and getting him back on the field.
There's a possibility he goes on some type of leave, like paid leave, this entire season. I just saw it. ESPN headline has he may not be deposed until 2022. So I don't see how he actually plays this season at all. Just because of the sheer volume of cases.
They asked for his gun and his badge, huh?
Yeah, man.
He's like, but you are not to work on this case anymore. You hear me? You're off.
2 weeks without pay. Yeah. All right. We're going to switch it over to MMA and some boxing. We talked about Fury and Wilder last week. Kind of, tentative on our interest levels for part 3. But after this past week, a little drama unfolded, a little entertainment. Fury had his weigh-in. Deontay shows up. Fury's dad was there. It kind of looked weird to me. Zane, you probably know a little bit more on the backstory of this, but they seemed to be cool at first, shaking hands. And I don't know if their barking back and forth was all just, kind of hoopla entertainment, or if there was some real animosity there. But nevertheless, Deontay got his barking in, disrupted the whole shit. So what's up with that?
Man, I mean, I don't. So after the first fight, they seem to have gotten along. I mean, Fury expressed his respect for Wilder, and Wilder, I think, had kind of realized that, he shouldn't have won that fight. He kind of got lucky. I mean, after the second fight, there's been a lot of shit talking. So I can't really tell what the respect level is here. I think they're both showmen, though. They know they're trying to sell this fight. Fury's just a fucking showman. I mean, this guy has just cold balls for days.
He was chuckling the whole time. He was kind of just smirking in the back, just kind of just letting it all play out.
I think it's kind of a mind game thing too. I mean, he's just a master of the mental game. He's able to kind of demoralize fighters before anything happens. So I think he's just switching it up, going back and forth between his, I'm gonna whip your fucking. I mean, he just basically came on the other telecast and was like, Deontay Wilder is a bitch, and I'm gonna beat him again, and I'm gonna beat Joshua. I'll fight any man born from his mother's cunt. I tell you this. Literally, like, this fucking wild shit. So I'm excited. I don't give a fuck. I know he saw this shit. I want to. Someone's gonna get knocked out again.
Us talking about it last week got me hyped for it because I talked shit last week, but I'm gonna fucking order it.
I knew you were gonna come. Exactly.
I'm gonna. Yeah, like, it didn't take long.
Dynamic is there.
Yeah, I'm gonna order it.
It shall be streamed.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. Go,
especially it frustrates people, especially because Tyson Fury is shaped like an egg with legs.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can't fuck with him. He's that fucking good.
Yeah. He's got the face and like the antics of basically like a Tyson's Punch Out fighter. The whole head bobbing like
so the Popinski and shit. Yeah.
He's good. So do they have
demoralizing to lose to a guy? I mean, to like that.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Like he's out of shape.
Exactly. That was the first thing I thought when I saw him. I was like, this motherfucker's goofy as shit, man.
His waist, he's shaped like Humpty Duck. Like his waist.
Absolutely, he definitely is.
And his
he definitely
shoulders
is.
are like this.
Yeah. It's like his body's going into like a funnel and shit.
Build.
Yeah.
Nah, but even more chunky.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So elsewhere in the boxing world, Jake Paul landed a deal with Showtime. I didn't read a lot into this. I'm not sure what the details are, but I know it's for more than one fight at least. And does this mean he leaves his upstart team, Triller Fight Club, or what's going on here?
I'm assuming that's the case. I don't think I've ever seen a boxer have two kind of major TV deals at once.
Right.
So I thought, to me, this was pivotal because, this guy's not a boxer by trade, right? But I don't know if this signals Showtime wanting to really cash in on what this new wave is as far as pay-per-view entertainment. Right. I mean, that's what clearly they wouldn't offer it to anybody, right? But I think Jake Paul's solid enough where they are kind of merging those two worlds of, true entertainment that people are actually buying and streaming, and somebody who could possibly be, maybe a solid fighter at one point or another. Yeah, so I thought it was a landmark type of deal.
In my mind, I think I mean, I've liked the Triller events, but I've heard complaints from, some viewers, some other promotional companies. In my mind, and without knowing much about this, like I said, I'm just hearing about this today. I feel like maybe, and these guys are just smart. The Pauls are just smart. They know how to market themselves. In my mind, if they partner up with someone like Showtime, maybe they'll be able to get bigger fights because of, Showtime obviously comes with a certain level of prestige, right? To the point where, it's going to be easier for some of these other fighters that maybe wouldn't be willing to work with Triller and don't really like their events.
Sure.
And maybe they'll be more willing to work with Showtime. I mean, that's kind of what I see. It seems like everybody's an option. Like, they're talking about Kamaru Usman fighting him. They're talking about all these jiu-jitsu guys want to, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe that makes it easier. Maybe that makes the money come a little easier.
Yeah.
It's all about the money.
A lot of the Jake Paul fights were, as you mentioned before in previous shows, kind of built around a lot of the entertainment and the sideshows and the kind. Would Showtime kind of maintain that sort of theme going.
Oh,
I'm asking you.
no.
Yeah. Like, what,
I mean, like some of the complaints I've heard is like, I'm not paying for this shit to watch a concert.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Or like the slap fighting. Like, okay, well, what the fuck is this? This seems like kind of like a sideshow. So I just feel like with Showtime, they could do similar things where they could have musical guests. They could have, but it would be a lot more streamlined and a little cleaner, you know, around the edges, in my opinion, right? Where you kind of shore up some of the mistakes maybe that people would perceive that Triller, you know, kind of did, and kind of clean that up, because Showtime already kind of has a running program and they'll be able to just add in little things as opposed to starting from zero like Triller did.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. Well, fans get a third edition of the polarizing Fury Wilder drama. Jake Paul gets the Showtime deal. As I've mentioned before, it's time to re-up your subscriptions, folks.
Yeah, we got Pacquiao Spence coming up too. And
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be dope.
Yeah, that's gonna be a dog fight.
Yeah. Pacquiao's. When's the last time he fought?
So last year, right? Or year before, 2019?
I want to say 2019. He fought Thurman, and then did he fight after that? It's been a while. I think he's been getting desperate to fight someone. And a lot of people, if you don't know who Errol Spence is, I mean, Errol Spence is, as at once was considered a top, 3 pound for pound fighter, considered arguably the best welterweight at 147. He's young, he's strong. This is a guy who walks around at probably 180. Who's going to be fighting at 140. He walks around at 170, 180 at least, and he's fighting at 147. Pacquiao's obviously a lot older. So this is going to be a fun, exciting fight. There's probably no way this is not going to be an exciting fight. I've predicted this in the past. This has the makings of like a brawl, like a slugfest.
Yeah.
So we're getting a lot of good fights coming up. Like we said, the McGregor-Poirier fight. We're going to have July 24th at Allegiant Stadium. Probably we'll have Fury Wilder. We're going to have Joshua Usyk. We're going to have hopefully maybe another Israel Adesanya fight, and then we're going to have Pacquiao Spence. So the summer is going to be loaded with some good fights.
That's right.
Good shit, man. Like I said, re-up on them subscriptions. If you're not getting Showtime, we at least need you on HBO Max, and you'll understand why a little bit more. Let's get in the theater, man. Well, the one thing my mom's HBO Max account has allowed me to finally accomplish is after many years of exhaustion from my peers and my co-hosts of the show, I've finally completed all 5 seasons of The Wire. Round of applause. Yes, go ahead. In fact, I'm actually lapping myself already midway through season 1 the second time around.
Oh my gosh. This is where you need to use more time more effectively.
Hey, listen. It's so much different watching it. It's so much different watching it the second time. I could not resist. Because even though you've seen it, there's so many hidden things you've missed, certain things said or mentioned. Like for example, like one of the small things I noticed, Maurice Levy, the attorney, he mentions his wife Yvette Brisket in the first episode and the last episode of the series.
What the fuck?
Do you know that?
You're in hella deep, man.
I just read
this man got the Easter eggs.
When you watch season 5 series finale and then season 1's opening, what do you call it? The first show, you start to see things kind of click quicker. And that was literally what happened. He mentions it in the last episode and in the first episode.
Wow.
Which was funny to me. That and watching the second time, just in general, it feels like a new story, but this time you know what the game is about. So even though the same things happen, just the way you're seeing it from a different angle, just kind of the release of tension from the unexpected and the unpredictable the first time helps a lot too. And no one has ever lied by saying that The Wire is the greatest show of all time. So with that, now with all 5 seasons finally watched, I can now freely enjoy the banter and arguments, water cooler talk about the show. Recently on Twitter, I happily engaged in a ranking of the 5 seasons. And I thought we might bring that onto the show here. I'll start. I'm going to go 4, 2, 3, 1, 5. And mind you, as I'm ranking these, it's literally kind of just like this. So
yeah,
quick hitters on each one. 4 to me was kind of just what stands out to The Wire about The Wire to me is that despite losing pretty much all your favorite characters, save for Omar, maybe Prop Joe. You lose all of them in season 4. Like, there's no more Avon, there's no more Stringer Bell, right? Two prime characters, and season 4 still ends up being arguably one of the best seasons in TV history, right? How do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
How do you pull that off? How good does the show have to be for you to lose so many pivotal characters and still be so good? I mean, you saw some of the people kind of just, kind of get a preview of them in season 3 with Marlo and the Stanfield operation. But to me, that's what stood out about 4. So many moving parts, so many connected parts at the same time, and so many parallels. We talked about Stringer Bell and Bunny. We talked about the whole Amsterdam approach to the co-op approach. So many different things, so many different, things that could have jeopardized an operation from the top down, and these risks that were being taken to kind of take a new approach. Season 4 kind of showed all of that. So for me, 4 goes first. 2, again, going back to the same thing, kind of losing so many characters and still putting out a phenomenal season, right? Season 2 could match up against so many other seasons from different shows, despite having so many of the liked and the characters that you were so much used to, just not seeing them anymore. And then also just kind of going completely off the rails from the streets to the docks and still being as good as it was. That's kind of how I rank this, just kind of the unexpected, the seasons that people kind of felt like, oh shit, we lost this, we lost that, but still ended up being great. 3's kind of in the middle for me. It's kind of things start to veer away from what we were seeing in seasons 1 and 2 to a whole new kind of era coming about. A lot of people kind of felt like, when I was talking about the Twitter thread, people were arguing that the story arc kind of moved too quickly in season 3, and saying, I wanted to get your opinions about that. I didn't really see it so much because I was so engulfed in what was kind of coming out of the whole Avon and Stringer relationship and kind of the build up to, that balcony scene. For me, kind of all that kind of played in and made it such a great season. I don't know if the character development went too quick for any of the cast members. I just didn't see it. I didn't see that argument. And we can come back to that, but 1 and 5 kind of rounded out. 5 I loved. I thought it was a great ending, kind of when you compare it to some of the other endings that we saw, for some of the greater shows that we talk about, Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, of course. 1 for me kind of just set the tone. I love watching season 1 the second time, just kind of seeing how these how these characters developed and evolved from the very beginning up until the end. So that's it for me. 4, 2, 3, 1, 5.
Okay.
Tee it off, Zane. What's up?
Asking me to rank them is so tough. It's like, it's like whatever I say last, like it's still a great fucking, like, the thing about The Wire and The Sopranos, what I try to tell people is, like, even the episode that I tell you is the worst, or like the season I tell you is the worst, is better than 99.9%.
That's how I see it.
Their
Yeah.
television.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
the thing. You don't even say the worst. You say the one I probably
least favorite. My least favorite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
My least favorite.
Yeah. So for me, it's tough. It's like, it's like asking me which one of my jerk off towels I love the most, right? Because I don't got no kids. So
I love them all.
for me, I'm gonna rank them, and this is gonna be opposite of yours completely, and that doesn't mean anything. But I'm gonna go 4, 3, 1, 5, 2. Right. 2 gets a lot of flack. I love the season; it's great. But 4 and 3, I'm doing 4 and 3 because 4 is just the impact, like I said, it had on me, and the way it's able to, just the ambition. The 4 is, like, to me, the most ambitious season of TV without going overboard, like to have introduced these 4 kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that could have just gone really south, you know what I'm saying? And like for them to accomplish what they accomplished, 4 goes up there for me. It has everything, and it just has this sense, like, from the street, like it goes so deep into the street level, and it just has this sense of terror and dread, that you have with Chris and Snoop come into the fold. It just feels like a horror movie, and like Stephen King had the quote once. He was like, Snoop is like the most terrifying villain I've ever seen, like female villain for sure I've ever seen in any TV, like Stephen fucking King, right? 3 to me is still the best, like, quality season, because even though I ranked it number 2, is because, like you said, the Avon Stringer relationship is just at the forefront of that season, and it's so Shakespearean, it's poetic, it's dramatic. It's like that balcony scene, the scene where Stringer, is talking to Slim about putting the the Clay Davis downtown Clay, like just like the fucking. And for people to say it's rushed, I think it feels rushed because Avon was obviously gone for some of season 2. But the reason it feels rushed and why things happen so fast is because while he's gone, Stringer has already planned.
So much has happened. So much has happened, right?
He's put so much stuff in motion, and he was getting to a point where he's like, I'm running shit, I'm doing things my way. And then Avon comes back in the fold and brings kind of that street general mentality. So that's why I love 3. I think season 3 overall is like the best without being too like show offy like 4 is, even though I rank number 4 at the best.
I want to talk about 3 real quick because when we talk about Stringer and Avon, we talk about that balcony scene. It's just so much happens in season 1 and 2 that kind of because you start from the very get go, even though it's not strong, you can see the differences between Stringer and Avon and their approach to the money game, to the street game, to everything. Obviously, Stringer's a little more sophisticated. He's got a whole different demeanor, and Avon admittedly says, I'm a gangster, I suppose, right? I'm not built for the business suits, and you see that kind of slowly evolve and kind of just avalanche and snowballs and snowballs and snowballs to the point where you've mentioned before, season 3, that balcony scene is kind of what everyone ended up waiting for. So as much as you feel like maybe it was rushed or it wasn't played out as well as it could have been, that itself, just that concept itself and that finale right there, it was all worth it.
It was worth it to me. And just to like cap that off is like, what I love about the show is it just, for example, Stringer is a character that a lot of people love, and I love him to death. But at the end of the day, if you really examine the show, Stringer was a poser. You know what I mean? Like Stringer was the guy that wanted to drop some fucking Nietzsche quote on you and shit, right? And be like, yeah, I'm smart. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I read books. Yeah, I took an economics class. Yeah, I'm this and I'm that. But
market saturation.
Market saturation. See, the problem is you think you have an elastic product when you have an inelastic product. And like WorldCon, like, and like people gravitate towards that shit because other shows will give you a guy who's so smart and intellectual, and they'll put a book in his hand, they'll give him a cool quote to read, and they'll have you believe in like that's the dude, right? When in actuality and in reality, the show basically sets up his fall way earlier if you're actually paying attention to how the Wire operates, right? Because he got too big for his britches, and at the end of the day, the guy with the more street sense ended up prevailing in that sense with Avon and his whole thing. So damn, man, it's just I mean, just a quick I'm gonna jump to you guys for the rest of the rankings. 4 I love, it's amazing. 3 is great. I put 1 in there because it has that sense of just cops and robbers, like it has that kind of like procedural aspect. And then I put 5 above 2 only because there's so many amazing scenes, from How My Hair Looked Mike to My Name Is My Name. Like that's like that build up to that, like My Name Is My, you know what I'm saying? Like those scenes. And 2 is a great season. 5 and 4 and 3 and 1 just had those moments where I just remember them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'll kick it off to Jamal real quick.
So my order is going to be 4, 3, 5, 1, 2. I've tried to really embrace 2. It's just one of these things. I might have to, if and when I do a run through it at some point in the future, I will, give it another look with, fresher eyes. But for me, 4, obviously, I don't, I can echo everything you guys said about season 4. Again, my mom worked in the school system. She worked around poor schools. I've seen the impact poor schools have on communities, especially Black communities. I think 5 gets some shit. But, in addition to Zane's thing about the quotables, I'd love to focus on the news industry and the focus around the dying media that is the newspaper, right?
It's
and
so
how
true
they
today, and it's like
so true.
15 years ago.
It's absolutely relevant today. Yeah, and how they had to scramble for so much content because again, it's something that's really kind of becoming almost a relic, at this point. 1 is great too. It was just, it seems if you obviously make it a season 5, you look back at 1, it feels like it was like 30 years before, right? But obviously it laid the whole groundwork for the series. And I think some series get shit for the way they end. I think The Wire wrapped very well, in my opinion. I wasn't really mad at the ending. So yeah, that's my ranking.
For me, I feel like, and you guys already said, it was all just such great television that it's all just above head better than a lot of other shows. And so Zane definitely spoiled me when he put me onto that. I'm gonna go.
You. I said save it for last, boy.
Nah, it was too good. I'm gonna definitely have to go back and rewatch it again as well. I'll go 3-1-5-4-2.
Interesting.
3-1-5-4-2.
I just like a lot of Avon and Springer's. I would say those are the two best characters in the show. So I ate all of that shit up.
Okay. Okay.
And they're all great seasons. I think 2 was a little bit, we talked about it before. I just get impatient. New cast. I'm like,
I did get impatient the first time too. Yeah.
But 5 is good. Journalism industry is pretty interesting. 4, also great television. Just in terms of all your main characters are, these adolescents, and Probluski comes back. So great series.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
You know what's crazy? And then another thing I noticed it when I rewatched it for the 5th time this year was like we talked about the fake news angle and the media. Like I'm just amazed. It's like they predicted the fucking future because you had that angle, but then you also had how they constantly had metaphors relating the street wars to the war in Iraq, right? Like Slim Charles has that quote about like, once we end this war, we end it. Like there's no backing out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just fucking crazy because in real life, when they took down Saddam Hussein because they felt like it was the thing to do, it created this power vacuum where ISIS kind of came into the fold, right? And when you look at the fucking wire and you have like Avon and Marlowe are like Saddam in that sense, right? They're fucking shit up. People are dying. And then they create that power vacuum for Marlowe and it just gets fucking worse. And it's like the show came out 15 fucking years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like everything just kind of came true in that sense. So I just wanted to drop that in there.
It was very forward telling, especially good old Bunny Colvin.
Bunny. The war on drugs. Obviously, they nailed that too. So
yeah. Well, like I said, when you're talking about the greatest show of all time and you're ranking the seasons, everyone has a perspective that they're looking at, or a certain angle that they're taking when they're ranking it. So I know season 2 was, I could think, a consensus bottom, 2 in the rankings. For me, it was in second place, and I feel like that could be justified, just like anyone else's. So good shit there. We'll keep talking about The Wire throughout the show as I go in through my second, third, and fourth phases. It's hard to let go. But let's go ahead and get into one more HBO Max show that Jamal is catching up on.
I've been waiting for this.
Succession.
I enjoyed
Jamal
it
about
as well.
this 2 weeks ago. You curved me, so I'm waiting.
Succession. Let me just prelude your spiel about Succession. It's one of the shows where I need to get past episode 1. It's one of those things where I started watching it, and the opening scene is one of the more intense scenes that I've seen, where they're in that boardroom. And the deal gets squashed, whatever it is. I don't know the details. I can't remember. But when they're in the hallway in the lobby, and he says, "Are you gonna call your dad?" No, I'm not gonna call it. You want to call your dad? But the tension there. But go ahead, Jamal, take us away, man.
Yeah, another show that's not brand new, but not old either. I think this premiered in 2018, 2019. 2019. Yeah. Yeah, this is one of these things that people didn't bother me about. Like, you got to watch this shit. But I just heard so many people at very random times talk about Succession. I love the theme song. I can't wait for season 3. And it's like, you know what? I had some time. I tried to watch The Nevers. It was like a sci-fi fantasy type show. Did not get into it at all. So it's like, I have time to watch something new. And I did not know it was a dark comedy, basically, which is right up my fucking alley. So, just my quick kind of takeaways. One thing that really has kept me in it, besides the writing being excellent, the fact it's a dark comedy, the fact that Adam McKay works on it, who I think is like a directorial genius, right? Side note, Adam McKay also directed the QAnon documentary. So I can see his sense of humor bleed through in that the same way it comes through in Succession. So if you haven't watched QAnon, I'm looking at you, Abdullah. Maybe it's time you check it out. But I've always had this obsession with businesses that are fucked up inside. either somebody is quarreling inside businesses, or you're buying up too much stuff and you're not managing properly, or startups that fail, like things like Theranos and like Crinkle and stuff like that. These businesses just flop because people have too much ego and not enough business acumen to actually like see it through. So the fact that we have here a CEO who is brash and does not want to give up his old school ways of managing, and does not have a good grasp of what the market is doing, and he's running shit into just running shit into the ground, and
on all the news.
All the news, yeah, and just and the impact is kind of flow down his head to his children, who, he kind of sort of borrow some things from, but they are really fucked up because of their relationship with him. We got drug problems, we got egotism, we got you name it. Obviously parallels. I know Adam McKay, I've been kind of reading about it. Try not to come across any spoilers. This most closely imitates the Murdoch family, Murdochs who own Fox and all that stuff. Yeah, but there's flavors of Trump in there too. You can see a lot of Donald Trump in Logan, and him kind of using his children as like kind of pillars, but also not letting them too close into his empire, right? The brashness, I'm just going to run roughshod over everything and kind of figure it out later. I saw some art of the deal type of stuff, walk away from the table when you don't get the way you want in a negotiation, like that type of thing. But it's a great, just a fucking great series. It's odd that I binge something, like I just don't want to turn it off. I did take a break last week because playoffs started up and all that stuff, but I'm on season 2, episode 5. I'm about to start episode 5.
You have not finished yet.
Okay. No, I'm almost there though. I think I at this pace I'll probably be there by early next week.
Take their time because they haven't. I mean, I think they just started filming season 3, which I've been waiting so freaking long. Because just like you, I kind of stumbled upon this show earlier when COVID started.
Okay.
And like Abdullah said, episode 3, I was like, I like this show, but I really fucking hate these people, and I'm really tired of the way they talk. Like it's a constant, just like one-liner, like like the Culkin kid is just fucking just a dick.
Macaulay Culkin's brother is in this show.
Yeah, so he's just a fucking dick.
Yeah.
But then after episode 3, I was just fucking zooming through that shit. By episode 6 of season 1, where there's a very infamous boardroom scene, I was just hooked.
Yeah.
And
I was yelling at the screen throughout the shit. I was on the edge of the seat.
It's
and let me tell you, like, 2 things. The character that kept me locked in was Greg, this tall, kind of cousin to the family.
Cousin Greg is
so fucking funny, man.
He's like Neil if Neil was in the fucking show.
So
he is like
Greg.
Like, they have this Cajun chicken pasta and they make it just how I like it.
Delicious.
You're not supposed to like it that way.
And so many of these characters are just really fucked up people. Like,
yeah, they are really
drug addicts. Tom is basically a fucking, I don't even know how to describe Tom. I mean, he's a perennial doormat, just a daily doormat for the family, including his wife. But let me tell you, Abdullah, before you even get into it, the season 1 finale, maybe one of the best finales I've ever seen in my fucking
life.
Oh, just wait until season 2.
Bro.
I almost fell off the fucking couch, bro.
Jamal, when that scene when he's on, when that song plays,
yes,
I swear to God, I fucking I legit fucking cried.
And we're not spoiling.
I know.
I'm not like I cried my fucking eyes out, bro.
Dude.
Like,
guys, do you want me to get through Sopranos or not?
It's not Sopranos, but Succession is for me. It's the best TV show I've seen in at least 3-4 years.
That's about where I am with it.
I'm easily swayed, man. I'm easally pulled from shit. So I'm trying to get through the Sopranos shit.
It's a deep show too. It's a dark comedy, but it has so many with family. You know what I'm saying? With just like it's about abuse. Honestly,
how many total seasons are there? And is the series over?
It's just 2, but
it's 2 so far, but they had it delayed because of COVID. So they just, I think, started filming season 3. It's been a year and a half almost.
Okay.
It's so good.
Yeah, and that fucking scene at the fucking club where he's just like, and then she back in my mouth, and he's like, there's a name for it. It's a thing, right? He's like, no, I don't think. I probably sound like we're speaking
technically I did cheat, but
He's crying, dude.
Neil, you watch this shit too, right? You
I watched it in COVID.
Neil's my son. I give him something to watch. He watches that shit.
Neil's my son.
Okay, he's watched everything I fucking give him.
All right, man. Hey, listen, we got to wrap this bitch up, man. Because Detention's right on time. We are going to lead the way and speak on some more of these fucking actors.
Hey, what is going on here?
Yeah, what's going on here? We're going to circle back to the NBA right quick. We talked about LeBron and his acting and his flopping antics. Rudy Gobert, this motherfucker gets fouled out, not even in the game. I'll let you finish, Jamal.
This was ridiculous, man. Rudy Gobert is fouled out. He's on the baseline. I forgot who it was from the Grizz that bumped into him, and
it was Kyle Anderson, right?
Kyle Anderson, right? And he just kind of touched his arm, and Rudy fucking flew back, man. Like
he was on a flight back to France.
Yeah, hit the ground.
Well, he got bumped, and he kind of just looked, and then he flopped, which is always even extra obnoxious.
It was so fucking ridiculous. That's another list. We need to do the top floppers, man.
Yeah, but that it's got to be comical even for them at this point. There's no way Gobert in his right mind thought he was selling anything.
I don't know what he was going for there. I really don't know.
Hey, it worked for Faku. He was trying to see who will he give the big ass guy the call to.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
All right. Well, we're gonna stay on the hardwood. Connecticut Sun head coach, what the fuck is his name? I don't even know what his name is.
Curt.
I didn't really read or view too deep into this, but we're talking about body shaming here. Liz Cambridge, who I personally think is fine as fuck.
Everybody thinks Liz is fine.
To be body shamed by a head coach,
Curt Miller.
It just seems like just garbage to me.
Yeah. For anybody who didn't know, didn't read the story, the coach of the Sun said that Liz, he complained to the ref because Liz, I think, was looking for a foul. He said, come on, she weighs 300 pounds. And she took the IG and she was like, she just fucking went at him. But again, everybody loves, Liz did one of those, is it ESPN magazine does the body issue?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's people really took notice, and
looks like my work is cut out for me.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so that was a great show, guys. We'll catch you next week. We've hit an hour 40 minutes. I think we're in a little.
Listen,
but okay.
Just to add to your fucking fat folder. if you go through her IG, she's been it's a whole smorgasbord in there.
Okay. All right, point taken. Yeah. We're gonna switch gears real hard. Jim Dolan ended up in detention this week. Jamal, you had thoughts on this. You explained what the fuck happened. I can't remember what you said.
Yeah, Jim Dolan, Madison Square Garden CEO, and overall one of the most hated people in New York. Period.
Of course.
The rumor is that MSG for the playoff games was thinking about implementing a facial recognition technology at the gate for when fans come in. Why? Because he wanted to make sure Charles Oakley did not come into the game. Charles Oakley's banned from MSG for fucking shaking a motherfucker like an Orangina a few years ago on the sideline. And that's still one of the worst things that Dolan's done in New York for Knicks fans' eyes. You don't ban fucking Oak Dog from the game.
Right. The shit that's happened under Dolan's watch. We talk about the Oakley shit. We talk about even Spike Lee getting shaken down by security a few months ago.
That's right.
Because he came into an entrance that he always came in through, which was the media entrance. He had an elevator that he took, directly,
right.
coming into that entrance. And one random night he gets shaken down by, apparently it was a new security guy, some young guy who didn't know better, but
didn't Pat Ewing get some shit?
Pat Ewing, the same shit happened to him too.
Yeah,
where somebody he didn't have a
coming in
right
in the Big East tournament,
and I think he didn't have a badge or any kind of but at the same time, it's Madison Square Garden. That's fucking Patrick Ewing.
I'm saying, like,
right?
if you work at MSG, I don't give a fuck if you like
prerequisite,
kid.
please.
You need in your training deck, you need like recognizable faces that we won't ask for shit. They'd get to come in whenever they want to. Charles,
he's a tall black guy. What the fuck you think he's doing here?
Yeah. Come on, man. Get on the grill.
Yeah, what the fuck? Yeah. So Jim Dolan, I'm surprised this has to be his first time in detention. I would have remembered, but he's on his way to a Giuliani hat trick, I'm sure.
Well, speaking of Giuliani, Dolan's thinking about running for office, so I'm sure he'll be back. This is only the beginning.
Oh my goodness, can't wait for that. We need more of that content. There we go. We hit $140. Glad we did it. This was fun. This was great as usual. We're gonna closing thoughts. Again, expose yourself at your own risk. Ish Smith, the playoffs rely solely on you. We determined it. You the guy that's gonna take us
Ishmael
to the next round. LeBron, we don't believe you. You need more people.
Hey.
Get your HBO Max up, and season 2 of The Wire deserves more credit. Don't give a damn. Frank Sabaka, re-election. We up. That's it. Episode 32, Participation Trophy Podcast. For Neil, for Jamal, for Zane Zadie, I am Sharif. Up and out. We up and out of here. Peace out.